G'day guys, welcome to PBHQ Live. This is episode 359. I am Dwayne Nichols live here in Wagga with all your paintball news. Not a heap happening at the moment, but there's a bit, and what has been happening has been some pretty interesting stuff at all sort of levels of paintball, from the pro world in the NXL in the US to a clinic here in Australia featuring a pro from the UK. Right down to us running a little beginners event here in Wagga over the weekend, a 3-man beginners event that I'm pretty confident we're going to see some regular and returning tournament paintballers come from that one. Chris Dickens is joining in, Brent Mitchell is in, Ryan Bennett is also in, Chris Thomas, Michael Nomoski all joining in, Susan is in from the States as well. And I did not charge the iPad at all today. It is dead flat, which is usually where I read the comments, and I'm trying to keep up with the comments sort of by like twisting my head and reading around my camera where they're coming up on my monitor for tonight. So hopefully I can keep up with all you guys, but thank you for joining in. Make sure you're commenting and joining in with the chat. You hit the little thumbs up button. I checked out some of the YouTube analytics earlier, and it said something like my videos last month had 600 new viewers, and of those 600, like 45 subscribed. So if you're watching this for the first time, if you're one of those new viewers or new or returning viewers that has not yet subscribed to the channel, well, you can still do that. It only takes a second. So yeah, go ahead and do it. John O'Collins is joining in, and that seemed a little threatening. Go ahead, and you don't have to. If you'd like to, and if you want to hang out with me, then yeah, do that. John O'Collins joining in, who who I caught up with last Monday whilst I was up in Sydney getting my compressor service, which is why there was no PBHQ last Monday. And Jono managed to give me a little gift while I was up there, one of these really these fancy stubby holders that seem to be all the rage these days. And by fancy, I mean the $12-ist Bunnings version, but I'm all for it. It's a pretty good little bit of gear and laser engraved with Heartbreak Ridge on there with my name. Been using that flat stick the last week or so, so thank you to Jono for that one. And yeah, it was cool to check out Heartbreak Ridge, by the way. I had seen photos of the venue over the years, but had never been there in person. And probably what I was most surprised about with Heartbreak Ridge at Milperra is its location. Man, it's like 20 minutes from the airport. I don't know, I haven't checked out Yarramundi from the airport, but it'd have to be an hour and a half, something like that. Yeah, Milperra, it's such a great location. And I know a lot of paintballers live out west rather than in the south of Sydney. I don't know how many live in and around that area, but it seems like such a great location. And yeah, getting events there in the future, man, I mean, I hope people play events all over, of course. But yeah, go and support those guys. And yeah, Jono shouted me breakfast too. So next time he comes to Wagga, I think I owe him breakfast and some sort of little gift along the way as well. And Chris saying that was 500 of your alt accounts. Yeah, hey, yeah, well, whatever, man. I'm all for, if you want to create a bot that just subscribes to the channel with new accounts every few hours or something, or every few minutes, I'm down for that. Whatever. Let's take over. We'll beat Mr. Beast and whoever else is up there in the upper echelon of the YouTube subscription numbers. Let's get on with a little bit of a mention for paintballshop.com. They are doing a deal at the moment that is running for this week, that if you buy any of their pod packs, so either a 3 pod pack, a 4 or 5, you will receive the same amount of pods for free. So if it's a pod pack, and obviously a lot of these packs, they're like a 5 plus 4 plus 4 or 5 plus 4 plus whatever. It's talking about the predominant, if they're set up as a 5 pod pack predominantly, well, that's what they're talking about with this deal. And if you went back a couple of years, this wouldn't be all that great a deal. But in the last 5 years, the cost of pods has gone up dramatically, at least that I am aware of. And Yeah, so if you're getting a 5 pod pack, some pods are like $6, $7, $8 per pod. So the HK pods, I think they're $6 or $7 each. So a 5 pod pack, you're getting $30 value there, in addition to your pod pack, in some pods. It says subject to availability. You've just got to let them know the color that you would prefer. And when I was putting that image in for tonight's show, I don't know, for whatever reason it reminded me. I played, and I showed a photo from a scenario I played at Ultimate Paintball in Camden a few years ago. I showed a photo a couple of weeks ago from that when Steve Couchy and Mel announced that they were retiring. A photo from an event that I went to there, a scenario game. I feel like there was around 160 people at that one. Pretty big for the time. Not quite Total War levels, but pretty big event nonetheless. On that day, Mossy came out at the staging, and when he was talking to everyone and announcing how everything was going to go down and start times and all of those things, he brought out 3 or 4 massive boxes of pods, and they were just the Gen X Global pods. And if you're not familiar with those, the Gen X Global pods are sort of like the no-name branded pods, essentially. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill 140 round pods. And these boxes were filled to the brim. And I don't know if it was old stock or what the deal was, but he was like, oh, they're just $1 each. Let's sell out these boxes. Man, how do I know? And I would have bought all 4 boxes. What do we got here? Am I going to Total War next week? No, I won't be, but I was chatting to one of our guys over the weekend, last weekend, sorry, one of the guys from Asylum here, about how we really do need to make an effort to get up to Total War at some point. But yeah, a dollar a pod. That was 10 years ago, to be fair. But yeah, man, should have kept it. Alex saying, you're finding more growth on YouTube or Facebook? Well, I ditched Facebook. I feel like so many people just don't spend much time there anymore. And I know that YouTube, particularly with younger people, see, I'm sounding old now, with younger people, it's just where they're spending so much of their time. I felt like it was better to be here on YouTube, and particularly with YouTube Shorts. And I have been talking about, and I'll go into more detail about this in the coming weeks and months, about PBHQ changing next year. And the format of the show not being how it currently is. And I don't think it will be all YouTube Shorts, but I'll definitely be utilizing them more than I am the current format, because it is just, it's just the way that it seems to be going. Long form media is becoming less and less common. Short form stuff just seems to be picking up like mad. I don't know. I'm something about it. I must be missing out here on some of the comments. Estevan's joining in. I do see that. But yeah, so there's a deal at the moment if you want to go to Paintball Shop and buy a pod pack, if you need one, for all of the events that are coming up the remainder of this year. And even though events have been a little bit slow, there is still heaps coming up, which I'm about to tell you about. It might be a good time to get one. Gladiator, we're talking about that exactly at the moment. They want you to prepare for war, as in Total War, but not just Total War. All of these events are coming up across Australia, Asia, and New Zealand in the next couple of months. Total War, that same weekend, there's actually a 3-man down at Sniper's Den in Melbourne. The Malaysian X-Ball League is coming up. Singapore Paintball Series is on. NXLs are on in Victoria and WA still. Piano in South Australia, and there was rumours of a 10-man in South Australia in December as well. The Wagga events, the Bushball Masters, the New Zealand Race Series, which I seen they had 10 out of 12 spots already taken for their October event. Super Sevens, of course. Hartley Valley have got another event coming up. The calendar, there's a 7-man as well at Heartbreak Ridge. So heaps and heaps of events coming up. So if you need a pod pack, paintballshop.com. If you need air, gladiator.com.au is where you need to go to get to find your nearest stockist or your nearest field, whatever the case might be, that sells their products. Okay. Chris Dickens saying stackable pods would definitely help. Yeah, man. Traveling with pods is a whole big thing. Like driving with them is one thing, but I don't know how teams do. I legitimately don't know how teams do it when they fly. Like paying stupid airline fees to pack pods would be ridiculous. Yeah, really seems Not ideal, but yeah, if someone could work out like a collapsing pod or something. Oh, here's a little off-topic story that I thought of last week. We actually had them for dinner tonight. My wife makes like chicken schnitzel wraps that are delicious, and we have them probably I would say at least once a fortnight, often a little bit more than that. We like them, the kids like them. Big bonus that the kids do too. And our 4-year-old son cannot hold a wrap for the life of him, and if anyone can teach a kid how to do it, I'm all ears. But we were talking, and I'm like, why is there not edible tape that you could like wrap around these things? I was like, man, I'm going to be rich. And then I thought, no, that would have been invented 100 years ago. I'm sure edible tape is a thing. It was invented like 2 years ago. I was that close. Just a random notification. Yeah, 2 years ago. So I was that close to just being stupidly rich. Edible tape that holds your like wraps together. Oh man, how did I miss out on that? So yeah, you wouldn't have known me. The PBHQ paintball, I wouldn't have been associated with it. I would have been off being rich in the food industry. But alas, here I am talking paintball still, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, Alex Kift is saying he won his Ultralight 77 through PBHQ. Yeah, man, so many people have signed up to the Patreon for their $6-7 a month and have well and truly out-earned that through winning the prizes. And that's my favorite thing about PBHQ. And that is probably the one thing, no matter what I do with the show, format-wise, I would not change. Giving away the prizes is really cool, and I'd love to continue to do that, no matter what happens with the show. So yeah, that's Paintball Shop and Gladiator to mention there. And Johnny saying, getting new pods. What do you reckon? I need 16. Oh, for Total War? Oh man, hey, who know? I don't know how you go about. I don't know how anyone carries enough paint for that event. Yeah, there's that's I don't know, and the staging area, like how do you keep your stuff all organized there? It just seems like chaos to me, but I want to be a part of it. So at some point I will get up to one of those. Quick mention here, and no disrespect to Elliot Weaver, but because I haven't been watching a lot of NXL Pro in the last year, I don't know who Elliot Weaver is. And NRG Elite aren't one of the top teams, so I guess I don't take much notice of their socials and that type of thing. But apparently he's been on NRG Elite for a couple of years, or in that system, and he's heading over to Baltimore Revo. And Silos Cortez, who has been on a bunch of teams over the years, he made a move last week as well, which I forgot to load in for tonight's news. And as I was preparing for the show, I noticed that there was a video just popped up on YouTube while I was kicking around getting ready, that there is a Dye DSR Plus icon now, which is a slight change on the Dye DSR Plus that's been out for the last couple of years. So Dye have done a little revamp and changed a couple of things in that. At this stage, I really don't know anything about it. So I'm going to go back and watch that video after we're done here tonight. And yeah, I'll probably learn something about it so I can tell you about it next week on the show. What else did I have? Oh, the biggest news from the last couple of weeks, though, and this happened last week whilst I was away up in Sydney on the Monday. This had happened over the weekend prior. That Jim McGowan from Lucky 15s in the UK made his way out. He was obviously coming out with the intention of playing the pro weekend at the Super Sevens, which was later cancelled, and then a bit of a change of plans for him and for the guys at Action Paintball Yarramundi. They had Jim host a clinic. That clinic was sold out, so that's a great result. 20 spots available, all 20 spots taken up. I also like that some of the guys from SWAT were involved helping out. SWAT obviously being one of the most experienced and top couple of teams in Sydney and Australia over the last 20 plus years. So some of those guys out helping Jim run what seemed like mostly EMS levels players through their training over the weekend. Johnny Caruana said that the boys from SWAT ended up taking Jim on a bit of a adventure around Sydney. He made a holiday out of the trip. I'm sure he would have preferred to have played the event, but running a clinic, of which he's a coach anyway. So I think he would have enjoyed doing that. Everyone said that it was really well received. Brad Short said, great clinic. Jim is very knowledgeable. Yeah, well, and he's been at the top of the game in the UK for a long time. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Really glad to see it. There was a time going back a few years, like 2015, 16-ish, and earlier, of course, but that's sort of when it was really at its peak, that almost every Super Sevens event, one player would come out a week in advance and run a clinic, or a few days in advance and run a Friday clinic prior to the Saturday and Sunday event. Some of the, your Kyle Spickers, Justin Cornells, Rainey, all these guys. Nick Sloviak has done clinics across the country. Ryan Greenspan, Blake Yarber, Marcelo, all of these guys were routinely coming out and running clinics in Australia. And I would love to see that be the norm again in the future. So hopefully that can become the case. And Alex is saying that Super 15s had a clinic in Malaysia too the week. I assume you mean Lucky 15s, unless there's another team of a similar name. But yeah, I'm all for sharing your knowledge. I mean, well, the next thing I'm going to talk about, and we can do a little segue here straight into it, is that we ran another beginners event here in Wagga over the weekend, our Wagga 3-man beginners. So Scrambled Legs got the win, and this was their second beginners event win in a row. So I told them at the end of the day, they are banned from beginners events now, and if they want to keep playing, they've got to come and start training with us. So we're looking forward to that. Cream Team here pictured on your screen, they got second, and a couple of those guys have played a few events in a row now and have also featured in finals. So I think you'll start to see them come through. And the Reggies, they were three workmates of some of the already newer players in our sort of club or team at the moment. Three workmates, of which I think two of them had never played paintball before, and they got third at the end of the day. So really good bunch of dudes too. And if they're workmates of existing players, I imagine that we'll be seeing more of them. I really like doing this. I really like seeing, and yesterday was a great example. In the past, I've had to be out there reffing a bit. Other times I've had to do, I've had punter groups on at the same time of these events that I've been out reffing or whatever. Yesterday for me, during the games, I just got to meander around with the players and chat to them. And the amount of players that were asking questions, asking what they should have done in certain scenarios, and not just to me, but also to the refs, guys from Asylum that have played in the pro division, Michael Simpson, Michael Namoski, Chris Thomas, as well as some of even our, like, they're experienced players, but not pro level players here in Wagga. We're helping out the new guys across the day. It is really cool to see. It's really rewarding too. I think everyone should do it if they get the chance. The Wicked Assassins are a good example. I've mentioned them a bunch of times. They do it in Sydney. SWAT obviously did it recently with the Lucky 15s clinic as well. And I know that it is happening elsewhere around the country. But if you're an experienced player and you get the opportunity to give back, I encourage you to do it. So yeah, really cool over the weekend to see that. A lot of the people that played were sharing images on social media and stuff too. That's what it's all about. Really look forward to seeing them progress through the game. Some upcoming events over here to quickly look forward to in September. So I mentioned that Snipers Den 3-man. That's an open event. It looks like between the Lumberjacks, Cartel, and some of the staff from Snipers Den that they're going to have like 5 or 6 teams minimum. So if you're down there in Victoria, want to play a little 3-man, join in. NXL Vic is coming up a couple of weeks after that. So again, another opportunity to play paintball down in Victoria. The MXBL Division 1 and 2 is coming up. Division 3 is a couple of weeks after that. Over in Malaysia, the Singapore Paintball Series is also coming up. I think you'll see a graphic for that shortly. Total War, mentioned that earlier. They've been getting really good numbers at Total War the last couple of events, up around 150. There's a picture of Dan from the previous Singapore Paintball Series. So there is a lot of events coming up in September, and they should be well supported if you're looking to play from east to west coast of Australia. Internationally, events are happening, and yeah, the NXL in the US is the other one that I did not mention. So if you're looking forward to watching that on Go Sports, well, you can go over and check them out too. A couple of birthdays to quickly mention. Carly Dwyer, birthday today. Carly has been involved with paintball in almost every facet of the game, running events, running teams, organizing teams, running pit crews for teams, just about everything you can imagine. And now that she's a mum of 3, and more recently, her little twins, her life has been turned pretty upside down lately. So I haven't seen Carly around the paintball field lately, but I know she'll be back sometime soon. Connor from PB Athlete, he's in the picture here from Core. His birthday tomorrow. Then Broderick, Dom, Paul, Blake, Dan, and Mark, all celebrating birthdays later in the week. I hope everybody that is celebrating a birthday has a good week, a good birthday, and a good week. I have the prize list here because it is, I think, what's today? The 28th, I think. Yeah, 28th of August. So at the beginning of September is when I'll be giving away those boxes of paint to the patrons of the show. So you've still got time to sign up for that at patreon.com/PBHQ if you would like to. And then the prize for next month, speaking of pods from earlier in the show, 50 pods and a pod bag will be given away at the beginning of October as we wind up the year. The big prizes, the tanks for your team, as well as the huge paintball shopping spree. That's pretty much everything that I've got to run through for tonight, I believe. Let me just double check. Yeah, I've got it all there. So thank you to everyone who has joined in. This coming weekend, there is no events. It is Father's Day. So I don't know how many people will be out at their various fields training and doing whatnot. But if you are a dad, enjoy it. If you've got a dad, celebrate it, give him a ring, go and catch up, whatever. It's like, obviously, becoming a dad in the last couple of years, it's really changed that whole weekend for me. And thankfully, at this stage, I have no bookings this Sunday at the field. And I look forward to having none, hopefully, so that I can spend the day with my little family and join you guys next Monday for another episode of PBHQ. Until then, have a great week. Bye.